All right, so Chris, we are back. It's been a little hiatus for us. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing okay. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing?
Well, I just finished training, so I'm still got the euphoria super hot in the gym today because it's currently like close to 8 p.m. I did the 6 to 7. The sun was beating in through the glass. We were on the bigger mat,
Ugh.
so it
Ugh.
was pretty hot. Yeah, it was pretty hot, and pretty good class, good intensity. As you know, I
Nice.
haven't been training
What
for
is
the
the
past
lesson?
week, so I we did Z guard passing.
Okay.
So what
Pass
ended
it.
up happening
Oh,
in my
okay.
case was, yeah, so it kind of screwed me because I've been playing a lot of half guard
Half
and Z
guard.
guard,
Yeah.
and so now everybody's like keying in on how to pass it. So I noticed right away that everyone was a little more decisive in their movements because they had something clear in their head to do.
What
So that combined with
so
the fact that I felt a little out of shape was kind of tough.
is it the same system that we were doing? I think about 6 months ago for passing Z guard.
No, it's just kind of the same fundamental like pass that he always likes to do, where you hop up onto the thigh with your inner shin, you
Yeah.
grab the bottom knee, pull it up to kind of square up your opponent, and then that
Yeah.
allows you to get your your elbow past the knee shield, and then from there he had us doing a knee slice pass where we got tall and pulled up on their outside arm to kind of flatten them out and just kind of power through and then square up their hips to finish the pass.
Where is your inside arm? Is it in the far collar? Like the are you
So the inside arm, he actually wasn't grabbing the lapel, although you can grab the lapel, but he was actually grabbing the material around the opponent's armpit and just punching them in the armpit to try and keep that shoulder. I mean, you can't really pin the shoulder if they're good, but you're at least driving into them and trying to quote pin their shoulder, even though they're probably not going to give it to you.
okay? That is what we did last time when we were
Yeah,
passing
no, okay. So
Zigard.
I was thinking a little farther back. So yeah, what you're talking about, yes, is similar, but we're not going into the whole thing of flaring the elbow or not
Oh, okay.
flaring the
I
elbow,
gotcha.
depending on what they're doing. What we're doing is we're being more aggressive in pulling up on their
Their
their arm, the one
their
that's
inside
not.
elbow.
Yeah, so not the underhook arm, but the other arm,
Yeah.
the one that would
Okay.
be
So it's almost
oftentimes
like a
framing
punch
on the
pass.
bicep. Yeah, exactly. It is a
Okay.
punch pass because you're
All right.
punching and pulling.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. Well, I will. When I'm back on the mats, I will keep that in mind. But cool, man. And you participated in. We had promotion Saturday. Unfortunately, I missed it. Had to put Connor down for a nap, which I'll have to tell you about that in a moment. Um, that was, oh god, dad life. How are promotions, man? It was a little bit weird one, right? I mean, we're in the middle of summer here with all the
Yeah, it
COVID and
was it was
whatnot.
interesting. It was very small. There were no black belts on the map besides Paul. So in that sense, it was in fact like the shortest promotion that I've experienced. But even still, it was probably maybe just under an hour.
Man,
But
that's pretty. That's really good. Like,
yeah, for what we're used to, yeah, that's super good. So it was just Paul up there, and I was thinking maybe a couple other black belts might have come through, but it was just him. And there was a fair amount of people on the mat, but we're on the smaller mat. And he basically gave a little speech, striped up a bunch of people, like everyone there was like Oprah. Like he was just, you get a stripe, you get a stripe, everyone gets a stripe
you
sort of
got one,
deal.
right? Or you
I
did you get
did get
one?
a stripe, so I'm now sitting at
Nice.
4 stripes. So
Congratulations.
thank you, sir.
I
So
didn't. You didn't. You failed to mention that, but the other day, by the way.
Yeah, but that's because I mean, the promotion day is for usually the people getting their belts. So
Yeah,
whether or
but
not I get a
you earned
stripe.
it too. I mean, you've got more mat hours than anybody at this point. So
Nah, I
congratulations.
got. I mean, after the way I felt today, there's a lot I got to work on, man. I didn't feel like a killer out there today. That's for sure.
How'd
So
you feel on Saturday? Because you were sort of specially requested to come out, weren't you?
yeah, well, I think it's because he wanted someone to take pictures, so I was photo guy. So I was photo guy, and I was taking pictures the whole time. So
Oh,
it
did you
was.
not partake in the gauntlet for the folks?
So the gauntlet for the folks did not happen. We
Oh, okay.
started late, so as usual, show up at 10:30. Paul's not there at 10:30. Everyone's there in gi. The veterans are not in gi. We're still just waiting because we know until Paul shows up, there's no point in throwing a gi on.
Right.
So there's a group of just chit chatting and stuff, and then around 11, the ceremony started, and by 12:05 it was done. So that's how I know it was
Oh,
around
wow.
55
Yeah,
minutes to an hour.
that's so no super congratulatory. What is that? What is the thing when you're a senior in high school? Superlatives. None of
Yeah, I
that
mean,
going on for
yeah, he
every
was.
stripe.
Yeah, no, there was. I mean, the striping was pretty quick, but a lot of people got multiple stripes. That's what I was saying. It was like everyone got
Oh yeah,
stripes. So a guy like Freddie was cool. He got striped straight to 4 stripes. So he went from no stripes, I think, on his belt to 4 stripes. So
awesome.
he's on deck for his brown, it looks like.
Well
But in
deserved.
terms of the belts, we've got Adam and Fabian went from white to blue. So that was cool. Both of those guys were ready. Adam, I guess, had been working hard the last 2 weeks to
Okay.
get ready for his test. And Fabian was a guy
He was so
that
scared. He was so nervous.
who Adam.
Yeah. So he said. I mean, so social media.
I mean, I wasn't there to see how he performed, but he got his. Fabian got his, and Fabian was sort of a guy who was going to get his blue
Yeah.
over a
Like
year ago.
yeah, and then
Some
he
life
sort
stuff
of
happened to him, so then he had to take a step back. But he's back. He was training hard, and he got his blue, so that was cool.
nice.
And then what was nice is a lot of my peers, the guys that I train with a lot, they got purples, so that was cool. So Mike Zahibi got his purple. Uh,
Way overdue. Like way-
Paul made his comment like, "I'm sure all you upper belts are going to breathe a little easier now because when you get tapped by Mike, it's not going to look so bad."
it's somebody. I mean, like he's the original like Nicky. Like he was like a kid when he joined, and so he's got more mat time than upper belts. So
Oh,
it's yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, it's just that he put on the gi so much more recently in his career.
exactly.
But if he had been doing gi from the time that he started,
Oh,
he'd
he'd
be a
be
black belt
yeah,
by
he'd be a
now.
black belt. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he'd be a black belt. It would be him and Carafalucci walking around. You know what I mean? So he got his purple. Nicky got his purple, and he's getting ready to go to the Navy. So that was very timely. So obviously, Paul knows Nick a lot more than I do because Nick started in the junior program, and then I remember him when he had his his green belt, and
Yeah,
I saw him
yeah.
get his blue belt, and now he's got his purple belt, and in a few weeks he's going to be shipping off to join the Navy. So that was cool for him. And then my boy Victor got his purple as well.
Oh,
So that was awesome. And last but not least, but Pedro got his purple as well.
good for him,
So
man.
Paul said he's good for a good flow roll. So that got a good chuckle out of everybody.
Yeah, Pedro actually, incidentally, might be the only person less aggressive than me on the mat.
Yeah, man.
He's that's absolutely true. He's definitely the truest of the flow rolls. Except evidently when he's rolling with like a white belt, because I don't know if you recall that Instagram TV I had done. I caught him on video. The guy was like, "Hey, how'd you get off of me? Or how'd you get me off of you doing that earlier or something while we were rolling?" He's like, "I just kind of muscled you off." I'm like, Peter, you're not supposed to admit that as like a 4 stripe blue belt, but
Hey, man, he's
So-
got to use those muscles, bro.
yeah, man, he's got them COVID muscles on there. The sorry, just dropped my phone. Yeah, good for them, man. That's awesome. I mean, I
Yeah,
think
so it was good. It was definitely a an intimate setting. Everyone was in a good mood. I
that's
mean, I
awesome.
think when you saw Paul handing out stripes left and right, everyone was in a good mood at
They're
that
like,
point.
ooh,
Yeah.
maybe I'll get one. Ooh,
I know. I mean, Eric had the nerve to be like, "Come on, Paul, put one on mine," and Paul's like, "All right, come up here." So I was like, "You guilt
oh,
tripped him. You actually like guilt tripped Paul into putting a stripe on your belt," and he's just laughing. I was like, "Eric, you son of a bitch! Like, what the
come
hell?"
on, man. Yeah, don't do that. In Eric's defense, he's well deserved as well. So
I don't know, man.
he's.
I don't know how much he's been. Eric, if you're listening, you haven't been training much the last few months, man.
I mean, I don't
You've
think
been like
anybody's been
watching
training that
kids.
much, So
Yeah, but he actually can train. He's just been like babysitting kids at his place. It looks
I mean,
like.
he's got obligations. I understand. Me of all people, I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah. This is
So
true.
he's got stuff going on, and somebody's got to. He'll incorporate firing arrows and beard oil and whatnot to his jiu-jitsu. I'm sure that there's some crossover there.
The
Um,
Gypsy King apothecary.
yes. So that's such an interesting thing. Gypsy implies that he like moves from place to place. He doesn't. King, that's all subjective. Apothecary. I mean, like it sounds cool. Do you think he knows what apothecary actually means?
Oh, I'm going to give him the credit there. Yeah, of course.
All right, cool, fair enough. I mean, is he like creating like concoctions for
I mean,
people
he
who
said,
don't believe?
I don't know too much, but I know he's making like beard oils and stuff.
I mean,
So-
like, was that a part of an apothecary's repertoire? Was to make beard oil?
I don't know. I think we're giving Eric too much like free promotion on the podcast right now.
I mean,
you're welcome, Eric.
he's our bud, man. But an apothecary, from my understanding, if I remember my Shakespeare correctly, is basically like a medieval pharmacist, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, like they were like before there was actually medicine, they were the sort of like shamans of the medieval times. So all right, I'll give them that. Whatever. Anyway, so good for them. That's awesome, man. I remember Paul saying that there's gonna be some black belts that were gonna be given out, but I guess he reneged on that, huh?
He made an announcement. Because he
Well, who are the
basically
highest
said
belts
that
there aside from
for
Paul?
the highest belts were Ryan Wilkerson and Mark Peace.
Okay, so the two Browns.
And
were
he
there.
said a lot of people, and he said the people have been asking about these two guys in front of me, and it looks like, well, he didn't say it looks like. He's like, I'm aware of these guys, and in December, I think he already said the date, December 7th. Winter promotions. These guys are going to get promoted. Basically, he basically
Nice.
said that, and he made some mention about I'll get together with you guys individually to let you know what what we need to do between now and then to get you ready, that sort of thing. So yeah, we're kind of like on a path. It's definitely odd, just because of all the circumstances and stuff.
Yeah.
But we keep chugging on, and class was good today, and we'll just keep making what is it, chicken salad out of chicken shit. If that's
Yeah.
one way to put it.
That's a very. Is it a Maine thing? I've never heard that before. Or are you
No,
you southerning
no.
up a little?
I'm southerning up a little bit. I think that's
Very unique. Cool though. I'm excited, dude. Like it's things appear to be coming back to normal, kinda.
kind of sort of.
Kinda. When is Nick leaving?
He's leaving in a few weeks,
wow.
early August.
So this is like legit. The dude's going.
Oh, absolutely, yeah,
Wow. All right.
absolutely.
Cool,
So another good grappler is going to be departing. So we're going to have to train up everybody else to fill the gap, the talent
I mean,
gap.
there's some kids that are. I mean, like Jasleen.
She got promoted too, actually. So I would be remiss. She was the other person that was promoted. But she was promoted
She's still a kid, so she's
yeah,
getting
kids
a
belt.
kid
So I don't know
rank.
the kids belt. So it was a white and yellow belt to an orange and white belt, I think.
White and yellow. So she skipped over. I don't fucking know how those work, to be
I don't
honest.
know how those work either.
There are
But
just so many
she
of them.
got promoted, and she's only 11. Like,
Are
that's the
you
thing. It's like,
serious?
yeah, it's like everyone thinks she's good for a 14-year-old. And Paul's like, but she's not 14. She's 11.
She, she legit, like, when she starts,
She's
turns
strong
it
as
on,
fuck.
you gotta like man your way out of stuff.
she's neck cranked me before, man. I've tapped the neck cranks with her.
Yeah, like
she's strong
she
as
doesn't mess
fuck.
around, dude. Like I pity the kid that tries some shit with her in like 4 years. You know,
Well,
first
it's
off, her
funny.
dad will whip their ass.
Yeah, but it's funny because Paul made the comment actually in during promotions. He said, "You know, who was telling me this is him?" He's like, "Who was telling me the other day because he was talking about Jasleen and Christian because how they train so much." And then he looked at me because I'm on the side. He's like, "Oh yeah, Noah was the one who told me." I was like, "Oh God, what am I? What?" I didn't know where he was going. I was just like, "Oh Jesus, what is he? Why is he citing me?" And it was that I had made the comment. I was like, you know, imagine these girls in high school or in college and they get hit on inappropriately by some dudes. God forbid, but if they did, it was like they're gonna kick these guys' asses.
They're gonna whoop the shit out of it. Like this is the type of thing that like gets put on like an Instagram video of like why your daughter should train jiu-jitsu.
Oh my
Right?
God,
Like,
they're gonna beat the shit out of these guys.
And good for them. You know, like that's awesome. Like those guys got what's coming to them because there's gonna be
Hopefully they don't have to use it, but unfortunately, it seems like asshole guys. It's hard for women to get through life without encountering an asshole
Exactly.
here or there.
So,
Unfortunately,
yeah, that'll be good for her, man. Like, so she's like 5 years away from a blue belt when she's
Yeah.
realistically like a green
I
or
mean-
blue belt right now. You know, like at the age of
I mean, I
11.
think in terms of technique, yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome, man. So that's cool, very cool. Her brother doesn't train anymore, does he?
I don't think so. No, I haven't seen him.
Hmm.
But I'm missing kids class. But I don't. Yeah, I don't think he's training anymore right now. So, but I'm not up to speed on
He's a scrappy little kid, man. Like,
all these guys that do jujitsu from a young age. They can't not be scrappy at some level. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So it'll be yeah, just interesting to see these people develop. You know, I'll be lucky enough to see that, just like Paul sees a guy like Nick develop from, you know, a kid, a junior on the mats to now
To,
being
like,
in the adult
to
class,
serving our country.
yeah, well, and that you know that's a personal development thing, but just from a jiu-jitsu development.
Oh
thing,
yeah. I mean,
to
and
see-
he's putting it on everybody too, man. Like, fucking that.
Yeah,
gangly-ass
if
little
you
kid.
get him, well, he's not little anymore.
The one that's true too.
I mean, he's tall. Like he doesn't think he's 6 foot. I'm like, bro, you're over 6 foot. He's like, what? He doesn't realize it. I'm like, dude, you're almost as tall as Mike Sahibi. He's like, what? But he doesn't believe me. But it's like, dude, you're getting tall.
Yeah,
you know?
he's pretty tall. I mean,
Yeah, he's got the jujitsu length. He's got long, strong legs, and then he's flexible, like ridiculously inflexible. So, I mean, I've stopped multiple times. I think I'm like, dude, why is your knee pointing that way?
Ugh.
Are you okay? He's like, bro, I'm fine. I'm like, what?
Yeah, there
So
are times where he's just like, if you just like freeze frame like any grappling situation and you literally can't tell who's who just because it's just a tangle of limbs. That happens a lot with him where he's just so wrapped around the other person. It's like literally like an octopus, right? And I'm like, God damn, like this kid's joints, either they just don't exist or he's gonna hate, or his joints are gonna hate him in 15 years.
Nah, I think
when
he'll
they
be fine. I think he
solidify
has
a little
attributes, man. He's got attributes. You
Oh,
know,
yeah,
I don't.
for sure.
I don't think he's. I think he's just got great hip flexibility. You know, and I don't think that's something that's going to be arthritic when he gets old or anything.
Yeah, maybe
know,
not. I mean, as long as he
I
keeps
think
up
I
with
think
it.
like finger shit maybe. You know, I'm not saying he has issues with his fingers, but I mean I can see that.
Right.
But he should be good. So what have you been doing to keep your mind in Jiu-Jitsu over these past few weeks?
I've been watching. I've actually been catching up a lot on MMA, which
Oh,
has
okay.
been really fun. I have not been actually doing jujitsu, but I've been doing martial arts. I mean, I still do my kickboxing in my garage. Um,
Have you seen the fights from the most recent UFC?
no, wait, hang on. First off, I didn't realize there have been like four in the past 2 days or something. It's been crazy, right? Like
Well, I don't know about 4 in the last 2 days. I think
I
that
know
seems
I'm using hyperbole.
okay. All right, fair
There was
enough.
like the UFC 251 last week, and then there was like some random one like a couple days later, and there was like
Benavidez,
another.
that the Benavidez Figueredo.
Yeah, that was a good card, right? Supposedly.
Well, that's the most recent one, actually, I
Oh, it is.
believe.
Okay, all right.
Okay, that was the
Um,
most recent one, and then prior to that was the Cater one. The main event was Cater Ige,
yeah, it's crazy because like,
and that was like midweek.
was it good? Did you watch it?
I watched a little bit. I watched the Cater fight because those guys are good. Those guys just beat the shit out of each other. It was a good fight for a
It's always fun.
decision, you know.
Um,
And then we had Usman and Masvidal prior to that,
that was 251. I
and
did
that
see
was the
that.
first on Fight Island. So what did you think? Let's go through that card because I saw the entire card except the main event because it was just getting so late, and I just had a feeling it was going to be a dull fight, and I was kind of worn out by Volkanovski and Holloway. So first fight of the main card was Hebus and Paige Van Sant. Paige Van Sant was most likely on her way to Bellator. She's a free agent now. She had the last fight under contract. They put her up against someone that they expected to win, and she went ahead and handled business rather decisively. What were your thoughts of
Very
that?
good. It was a beautiful armbar. First off, um,
I know, in the armpit.
yeah, like that's the you ain't getting out of this
Belly
one,
down.
sweetheart. Yeah,
Yeah, belly down in the armpit. And she had a good, was it a hip toss?
yeah.
It
It
was
was
some sort of.
a. I think it was I think it was a hip toss, but it was good. She's that it was a good fight. I mean, like Paige Van Zant. I don't like using the word overrated, but I will say over promoted, if that's fair to say. She might be one of those that were over promoted. I mean, like she's a gorgeous lady, obviously, so she's just good for the promotion in the sense of just drawing in an audience. She was a decent fighter and stuff, but I think this far into her UFC career, perhaps her name speaks more than her ability, given that the competition seems to have caught up a little bit.
How did
If it's,
she get on the scene? Was she on the Ultimate Fighter and made a
I don't
splash
think so,
there?
dude. I think she, if I remember correctly, she was a part of Faber's team. So he was instrumental. I want to say he was instrumental in getting her
So she was in
on.
Team Alpha Male.
Yeah, I believe so.
Wow.
I think
For some reason, I thought no women trained at Team Alpha Male because of the name. For some reason,
that would make yeah. That's
Team
that,
Alpha Female.
I don't quote me on that, but I'm very certain that that's the case.
Well, people who know better are probably wincing if we're
Yeah,
wrong. But
I mean,
I think the impressive thing also is that Hebus is technically fights at a lower weight class, and she
does
moved
she
up
really?
in weight just to fight Paige. So clearly, disparity in terms of skill. So she just kind of handled business.
Good for her. I mean, like,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Next on the card was the one I was looking forward to the most. So this was the one I was most interested in seeing. It was Jessica Andrade versus Rose Namajunas.
That was a great fight.
So I'm obviously not well versed when it comes to stand up, so you can appreciate this more than I could. But I was curious. I was impressed as a uninitiated in Andrade's ability to move her head and get inside the pocket and tag Rose, something that she wasn't really able to do in the first
In the
fight. Even
first-
though she
yeah.
won that fight, she was getting lit up in the first fight.
Yeah,
In
she
this
was.
one, I felt like she was landing shots, wasn't landing as many, but she definitely was landing harder shots, as evidenced by the damage that Rose took. And
Dude,
she had
her
a
eye looked
huge,
terrible.
yeah, huge fucking mouse under eye. So what
It
did you
was,
think
ugh.
in terms of what Andrade was doing and how she was able to do? Like, what did you see in that fight?
I appreciate what both were doing. I mean, the Rose's ability to maintain like calm and pick her shots is very good, and her ability to a lot of the term like sort of like next level footwork was kind of big a couple years ago with Dominic Cruz and stuff. Um, Man, that wasn't spoken enough as much as it should have with Rose, because her ability to just move in, stick a couple shots, and angle her way out while protecting her head was really, really impressive. She got caught a couple times, obviously, just based upon her eye at the end of the fight. But it was good, man. Like it was a very, very good technical striking display by Rose, both with her kicks and punches. Andrade definitely, it's obviously she worked head movement a lot between her last fight and this one, but it still seemed a little forced, I guess. I mean, it worked, right? But it wasn't as fluid as I would expect it to be for somebody who could pick shots as well as or fighting somebody who could pick shots as well as Rose. But it was good though. I mean, like, she definitely got in her pocket really well. I was surprised she didn't try more dumping Rose on her head, as it seemed to work last time. But
I
I
don't
guess
think,
people
was she
game
able
plans
to get her
changed.
hands around Rose? Like, was she able to like clinch with her at all? I don't
I,
remember that happening.
no, because Rose's footwork was so damn good. So maybe that's more of a testament to Rose's ability to get the fuck away. But it was a really good fight. I like that. I appreciate it a lot, just because that's the type of striking I think Just Bleed guy needs to see more of. You know, for
I
lack
love
of
that
a.
GIF, man. I
It's
remember the good old days on SureDog watching that GIF pop up.
it's
Oh my
yeah,
god,
like we need to see more of
dude,
that.
what was it? It was well, I mean, multiple times that they went nuts, but I remember it was Joe Daddy Stevenson against BJ Penn, and
Oh
they
my
went
god.
nuts because Joe Daddy got bust open, man, and he
Oh
was
god, it
gushing.
was when he dude when BJ like what he cinched on the rear naked a little tighter, and you could literally see the stream of blood squirting out of his forehead. Oh, that's not good for. It's not good for the. I mean, it's awesome for the sport, but it's also not good for the sport.
Well, hopefully Joe Daddy had like issues with like thick blood, so that helped thin out his blood a little bit. I don't
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
know.
it's like the why men should donate more blood, or whatever the case is,
Yeah,
to
exactly.
a lot of iron and whatnot.
So next on the card, I know it's not Peter, but I'm just gonna say Peter because I'm gonna play the dumb American card right now. But
Yeah,
Peter Yan against Jose Aldo for the bantamweight championship. Was it
the
bantamweight?
MT bantamweight championship, right?
The
Because
yeah bantamweight.
Cejudo,
Yeah, and Triple C. My name is
ugh,
Triple C. Uncle Dana.
he is
I want to
definitely.
ride off into the sunset.
So that's a okay. He
Dude, they actually showed in the hype video for this fight, they actually opened with Cejudo saying what he said. And they had him, they
oh,
included the clip of him saying Uncle Dana. And you could see Dana in the background with that just look of like, this fucking guy.
it's oh, man.
Oh, man, I love it.
How
It's so cringy,
much
but I love it.
how much of that do you think was a shtick, and how much of that was him?
I mean, we'll know after the fact. I mean, it's hard to know now. I think he could stick around. I think he's too young, and he hasn't taken any damage. That the appeal of making more money by fighting is probably going to keep him around. But who knows, man? I don't know. It's tough for guys at that weight class to draw. It seems like historically they seem to struggle drawing money, so they're going to have issues when it comes to contract stuff. That seems to be a big trend right now among the fighters at the upper echelon, is they want to be paid better. And I mean, look at Demetrius Johnson. Demetrius Johnson went to ONE FC because he wasn't drawing. I mean, there are a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons why the UFC was okay with him leaving, arguably the best, flyweight of all time, was that he's a flyweight, and flyweights don't seem to do well in terms of when they're at the top of a card.
So let me ask you, that's interesting. Who is your favorite weight class to watch?
Ooh. Well, I mean, you brought up a great fight that happened years ago, Frankie Edgar and Tyson Griffin. And I remember seeing that fight when I was uninitiated into the grappling arts, and I was just a fan. And they were so fast, and they did such technical stuff. I was still amazed. I was like, Jesus Christ. These guys are like transitioning between grappling, stand-up, wrestling. Like, it was just ridiculous how fast they were. So I think right now it kind of depends on like the fighters in the division. I think right now it's probably 155 is my favorite division right now.
I don't even know who the champion is. Is it Khabib?
That's Khabib.
No, it's not Khabib. It's Gaethje, right?
Well, Khabib's also the champ.
Oh, he's the interim, right?
They haven't stripped Khabib of the championship. They just
not?
made Gaethje the interim. No, he's still the champ.
Okay.
Give me address. Give me address.
Yeah. Yeah, 55 is good. 70, I'm not really. When GSP was there, like, I felt it. Like, it was like watching Jordan, right? I really don't.
Well, the fun thing about a division like 170 with George, or 205 with John Jones, and now potentially 185 with Israel, when you have a champion that is potentially dominant, it's fun to build up challengers and throw them at the champ and have the champ take them down. Now people always say, well, shit, GSP never faced Tyron Woodley or Kamaru Usman or Masvidal, and there are all these murderers rows of guys. You can't compare current fighters to the past, but at the time when he fought John Finch as a GSP, John Finch was like the man.
Oh yeah,
he was like he hadn't lost until he lost to GSP. Josh Koscheck was running through people until he fought GSP.
Yeah.
Thiago Alves was running through people. ATT product. And actually, I recently was talking to Paul, and he was telling me some insight about Thiago because he was one of Thiago's training partners for that fight.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Really?
He was down in Coconut Creek helping out with that. And Thiago was a freak and so athletically gifted, most likely chemically enhanced, and had traps, up to his ears, and did a lot of good things against George, but still George handled business.
Yes, he did.
So that was, again, like, I'm just saying that at the time, all these guys were incredible until they fought GSP.
Exactly. And he made them look bad at what they do. Right? I think he was just really, a lot of times, especially with most of those fights, it started to become, his just wrestling was so good and he was putting everybody down. That was the thing about Thiago. Thiago would get taken down, but he would get back up. What ended up happening is he got taken down, I think Paul said, I don't know the stats, but Paul made it sound like over 10 times. But he kept getting back up, but you got taken down again. Exactly.
So
and if he gets stood up or is able to stand up and he's unable to capitalize on that, then the person who dominates, who imposes their will, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they're the winner. Yeah, but 170, like, even with all the Colby stuff and all the Usman, like it lost its luster to me for a little bit, and I don't know. It's like maybe I just
Well,
didn't.
were you a big Chuck Liddell fan? Because I remember like everybody
Mm,
loved 205 back in the day with Chuck
see,
Liddell.
I was a Randy Couture fan. I didn't like Chuck Liddell because I felt as though he fought so attribute based that it set a bad example for people who wanted to get into MMA. Just the idea of like fighting with your hands low, feet super wide, taking a punch to land a punch, like that sort of style of fighting. It drove me up the wall. Being somebody who, as you know, worries probably more about technique than winning. Um, yeah, I couldn't deal with that, man. So I enjoyed the Chuck Couture trilogy. That was a lot of fun, but I was not a Chuck Liddell fan.
Gotcha.
But
All
yeah,
right.
205
Well,
was big. Anyways,
so let's finish off the UFC card, and then we'll. Cause I have a couple questions about what we were just talking about. But I want to finish up the card while we're still on it here. So, like I said, it's not Peter Yan. It's something more subtle than Peter, but I'm just going to say Peter. Peter Yan, Jose Aldo for the vacated title. Peter Yan, was it 4th round, I believe, or 5th round?
it was either way. It was either 4th or 5th. I think it was 4th.
All right. Was it a late stoppage?
Oof.
And what were your thoughts on the fight?
So late. Like, I mean, I understand he's. That's a weird.
I thought whenever he said, like, defend yourself, he was about to, like, stop it, and then Jose would do something. But he wouldn't do much. He would do something and then resettle and then get beat up some more. And the guy would say, defend yourself, and then he would shift this again. And
yeah,
then
he would. And is that considered intelligent defense, though? I mean,
well, I think the first and maybe even the second time, the ref gives him the benefit of the doubt. But if he, at that point, he should also have this notion of, like, okay, he's absorbed a lot of damage. I have to put him on a shorter and shorter timer every time. You know what I mean? Like, I can't. That was the thing. He did not.
And he didn't. And maybe it's one of those things where I think Big John McCarthy had talked about it in a couple interviews. The idea that, like, they sort of give former champs a little more leeway, because a lot of times they've been in deeper water.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that.
Maybe this is the case of that. I mean, but the problem is Jose Aldo's got a lot of fucking mileage, man. Like I get it.
Even though he's 32 or 30, like, he's not. He's in his early 30s.
Yeah, I think he's like 31. Like he's
I know, and he's got a lot of mileage.
Like a ton of mileage. I mean, that shit's not good for you, man. Like, and he's.
That being said,
it was definitely.
I thought. That being said, I thought Aldo looked great. All that happened, in my opinion, is that he started to fade physically. Now, physically is like his conditioning started to go down in the later rounds, and Jan was able to maintain
just a higher
a higher work rate. Because up until that point, I thought it was a pretty even. Now, there was that huge shot to Aldo's ribs.
Yeah,
where he just... And then he somehow magically recovered, man. And it was funny because he had like a real like Muay Thai stance the subsequent round early on where he kept raising that front knee to defend that side. And I was wondering, like, man, is how fucked up are his ribs right now? And he might have bruised ribs, or he might even have broken ribs, and he might have been operating on adrenaline. But
he kept fucking fighting though. Like that was
it was good, man.
And that was round 1.
Credit to Peter Yan, it was round 1.
So yeah, that
So
was. I mean, he looked good. You know, he definitely looked pretty good.
see, the thing is I feel like the card just got more and more dull as it went on. Like I would like the first fight was nice armbar. The second was a good fight between Andrade and Namajunas, and then this one started. Even though there's a finish here in the Jan Aldo fight, it just got a little longer. And then the Volkanovski Holloway fight. Maybe I'm just not intelligent enough or tuned into striking to appreciate what happened in the
I
fight.
didn't appreciate that. I or not. I think I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
I just was like, all right, you know. Now, here's the thing. I didn't think it was a robbery. I thought the announcers were like riding Holloway's nuts so hard the entire fight, and I know he got 2 knockdowns early on, but I'm sitting there thinking, especially once Volkanovski started getting these takedowns, which didn't
He
amount
didn't do
to much.
anything with him, but he still.
But I know, but they scored. I'm sitting there. I was like, you know, he's the champ. Like everyone's like, oh, he's down. He's Max is up 3-1. I was like, bro, you know, this guy is a champ. They're reluctant to give it, you know, to switch a title by a decision. In my experience, they tend to like favor the champ.
Beat the champ.
Yeah, and so then once they started like so and so scored at such and such Volkanovski, I'm like, oh, here we go, you know, and it's a split decision. Here we go, and sure enough, Volkanovski wins, and you know, at that point, I'm like, it's super late. We're here on the East Coast, and I'm like, you know what? I know I kind of wanted to see the Usman fight, but this guy, Masvidal. He's been getting ready for what, 8 days, 7 days, 6 days. I don't know what his cardio is going to be. And actually, that fight went how I predicted it was going to go in my head, which is just kind of like Usman's just going to like grab him and control him. And I guess he never.
I haven't even finished watching the fight, to be honest.
Really?
I got through like 2 rounds or 2 or 3 rounds, and I was like, all right, I see where this is going, you know. And
well, it seems like he never like hurt George at all, like, but he just controlled him.
And you know, it was definitely not even lay and pray. I mean, like, because he was active from what I saw. It just, I was like, all right, the pace of this isn't going to change, barring a running flying knee, right? So yeah, I shut it off too. So, but the props to, you know, ATT product also, George Masvidal for taking on 6 days, you know, and
doing better than what Woodley and Colby Covington looked like on a full camp.
Yeah. So, you know, good on them. And I mean, maybe that a part of that too is just as Masvidal only had 6 days to prep for it conditioning wise, right? I mean, his game plan is going to be his game plan. Usman only had 6 days to prepare for a fighter like him. You know, he was prepared for Gilbert Burns, who is an incredibly strong grappler who just happens to also be a good striker. But, you know, maybe game plan wise, it threw him off a little bit too, so he couldn't quite finish him the way he would have, or maybe he just tried to play it safe because he knew the danger that he would be in if he tried to sit there and just trade with Masvidal.
So one thing that came out of this event, in particular the Holloway Volkanovski fight, is this idea of the scorecards. And what about having the scorecards public for the fighters to see? So after every round, they know where they're standing. Because
Joe Rogan talks about that a lot, doesn't he?
Okay, because I actually didn't hear it from Rogan. I don't think I heard it somewhere else. But obviously, in a situation like this, you know, people during all these UFC fights, right? There's no crowd, so they're being extra aggressive with showing you Twitter stuff. So it's like whenever, you know, a fighter tweets something, they'll put it up on the lower left of the screen. And they were actually referencing it a lot. And in the case of the Volkanovski Holloway fight, everyone's like, well, I got a 3-1 Holloway, 3-1 Holloway, 3-1. So obviously, if if they start that and they see that two of the judges have a 2-2, that's going to affect Holloway, and in theory, that should have him fight more aggressively and fight a better fight. I haven't really heard any cons against it. I just don't know why we don't make it public knowledge. What are your thoughts on making those scorecards public, and if that would be a positive change for the sport?
So is MMA the only sport? Because how is it in boxing? In boxing, do they know what the scores are?
No.
They don't. Okay, so the two main combat sports, you don't know.
I heard it's more of like an East-West thing. Like I was under where I heard it was like in Japan they have open scorecards in a lot of smaller MMA fights. That was what I heard. I have no confirmation about this.
What do you mean by open scorecard? Is it like?
Well, it's the same. I just mean that open scorecards, like they know what the score is.
Oh, I see.
After every round, that's just the
Really?
word. Yeah,
Did not know that. Because I maybe it's because my Eastern.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Like this, it's irrelevant for the argument. That this is just how in the context I heard it, but I really don't know the history.
I mean, transparency is never a bad thing, right? Like, where can anybody argue that trying to be more transparent about things, especially in the context of competition, to know where you actually are is.
Except they want to avoid. Let's say you are up big let's say you are up 4-0 on the scorecards. That last round, you could be running away the whole time.
Okay,
and if you don't know,
but then shouldn't that also just force the fighter who's losing to try to pursue the finish that much more? Okay, so let's look at that.
I don't disagree with that. I'm being devil's advocate.
No,
I'm in favor. Right? I don't see a reason why you shouldn't make that public knowledge outside of now how you score rounds and the whole 10-point must.
That's
or
weird.
10, whatever
that needs to go
away. That's a whole different debate. I'm not talking about that. I in fact, speaking of Joe Rogan, I heard Josh Barnett recently talking about how he hates 5-minute rounds. That's bullshit in his opinion. It's like 5 minutes is not enough. You need to do at least 10-minute rounds, and that's a whole different story. I'm just talking about. We have this issue of it's a sport. There's some sort of judging. Right now we're judging by round. Regardless of what the criteria is for judging by round, we choose to keep that information secret until the time of the decision, and then they announce it to the whole world. And
no, we need the fighters need to know where they are. I think I think if you're the type of fighter who you're up 2 rounds, you won't. I don't think they'll necessarily run away the 3rd round, right? But they'll definitely play it safer. But I don't. But I think it's just more incentive for the fighter who's down to definitely try to finish it. Right? Let's look at it from the context of Abu Dhabi, right? It's weird. What do you feel about Abu Dhabi's no scoring for 10 minutes? Because we can kind of liken it to that.
I don't have a strong enough opinion because I'm not a seasoned competitor, but I think I like the idea because it allows people to just grapple without worrying about the point structure. So it's a little freer. So if you want to play bottom, you can. If you want to give up position, you can. Obviously, there are risks that come with it, but they're not score-related. Now, obviously, there's this arbitrary thing where it's like, all right, at a certain time point, at a certain period, we're going to now add points. So, it would be interesting to look at stats and say how many matches end when points don't count, and if people do actually, open up. Because what ends up happening is, anytime there are rules, people are going to do what they can to game the system. And I know that, for example, there was some, people annoyed with 50-50 and IBJJF competitions because it was such a stalling position. And then people started to realize, I guess it sounds like people are getting more knowledge about the position, and they actually figured it out. So it didn't become, as much of a stalling position. But that being said, it's like whatever you can do. I heard Keenan Cornelius talk about Naga. The Naga rule set is you get an advantage for
an attempted submission, right?
I don't even think you get an advantage. I think you get a point, actually,
or a half point or something, right? Or
you get they incentivize you to attack submissions. He said he would game the system. He's like, I remember doing Yagas back in the day where I would just do these useless like ankle lock attacks and just rack up points. So if people care about winning, and you have a rule set with points, then people are going to figure out a way to optimize their scoring potential. I mean, some people call it gaming the system. Other people are just, maximizing their likelihood of winning within the rule set. Now, back to the MMA thing is like, but not telling people what the score is stupid. I mean, in jiu-jitsu, we all know the scoreboard's right there. They get that advantage and they know they're good. And then the minute it's over, they're pumping their chest and opening their gi because they won. I think it would be good to maybe, understand what the real, the people that are against it, what their reasoning is. Because to me, and talking to you, it seems like we're definitely in agreement. It just seems to make too much sense to have everyone know exactly how the fight in the UFC's case is going, so that the fighters, they can be down, but that adds drama. It's like, oh, the fighter was down going into the last round. He knew it. The audience knew it. Everyone knew it. That adds drama even to the spectator. And that guy had a dramatic win, and he came back and he won, and great. He knows that, So I think I agree with you. I think transparency can only help the sport.
Yeah, of course. And if one thing I've learned about MMA, it's that there are a lot of weird things that are involved with the scoring and just the bureaucracy of it. And a lot of it comes from the tradition of boxing. And now that you just mentioned that in boxing, you don't know. I think they show scores, right? But it's like from like the quote experts who are commentating, right? Who they show what their scores are.
Correct. I always think it's like they'll ask the guy, well, how did you score it, Kenny? Or Teddy Atlas, how do you have it going into the 9th round?
Yeah.
And Teddy will be like, well, I think Floyd won that last one, so I've got him. It's unofficial, the unofficial scorecards.
Yeah. So that's where I think that's a weird tradition that was probably adopted from boxing. That needs to go away, just like the 10-point must system. I think along the same lines, so is something like, okay, so for MMA, do we move more towards a Jiu-Jitsu type scoring system? Or do we move more towards like a Pride scoring system?
I'm not so familiar with Pride. What's the Pride?
So Pride is 2 rounds. Round 1 is 10 minutes, and round 2 is 5 minutes. And the idea is that you score the entire fight as a whole, not per round. But the reason why it's broken up is who the fuck wants to fight for 10 minutes straight? So that right there is incentive for the fighters to try to finish the fight within the the first 10 minutes of the quote 2 rounds. And then the 5 minutes is just there to, it's funny to think that 5 minutes is a short amount of time when you're fighting, but the 5 minutes is there just to operate as sort of like a sudden death. So what happens a lot of times was, or what happened rather, tense wise, they would sort of go all more balls out on the second 5 minutes because it was sudden death, right? And because the fight is judged as a whole, number one judging criteria was effort to finish the fight for Pride, which is super subjective and super sort of abstract, but it's in the context of something like MMA, where it does involve stand up clinch and ground, and there are very many more aspects than just punching somebody or trying to grapple somebody. Like there are different ways you can try to finish a fight, whether it's, whether you're trying to better your position via clinching to a takedown, or whatever the case is like that's a pretty interesting criteria. Do you think is it too subjective and too far away from the traditional boxing method of scoring that it wouldn't work here in America?
I think that it seems like people, and it could be just nostalgia where everyone's going to be fonder of the past and not think about all the times it wasn't so good. But I can't think of people really criticizing pride scoring. I always have heard people talk about it fondly. In my experience, again, this is on the forums and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe there were fights that didn't do so well that had decisions that people didn't agree with. But it seemed like
pride, those were
everyone thinks of fondly.
Robberies for the hometown crowd or for the hometown fighter. Yeah, and a certain amount of alleged crookedness involved.
Hometown cooking.
Yeah, so that was, I think, the more questionable decisions, I think, are cases where that's involved, not so much the actual scoring.
I think
horrible
I think yeah, I think like anything, it has to be like incremental changes, and I think the first thing they can do from an incremental change standpoint that would help is just simply put MMA fighters in as judges instead of the judges that they currently use, which are these athletic commission people that don't seem to actually know what fighting is.
Yeah,
and they don't know what's dangerous or not.
Right, like that's getting like what.
But if that changed, I think that would already improve things.
Yeah,
because regardless of the rule set, you can have a rule book, but how those rules are interpreted and enforced is another thing. And as long as you have someone, if you had, a Michael Chandler or a Michael Bisping, and these were your judges, yeah, they might not judge it necessarily the way you would necessarily weigh things, but they're going to be in the ballpark because they're fighters.
Right.
So I think that's the first thing that seems to be. But beyond that, I think it's beyond my pay grade and my experience level to really the comment, because I just, even I recognize that there's only so much I know, and we're talking about MMA, which encompasses so much.
And that's the problem, right? But
now, do you think in terms of like time, would you be in favor of just 1 20-minute round? I've heard people say that. I think I've heard GSP even say that.
That's
like it should just be like one round.
That's absurd. Because how the fuck is anybody gonna fight for 20 minutes straight? I mean, like, people talk about. So, like, just let's go back to Abu Dhabi, right? Or even what is it? Gracie Nationals, like from Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. I think those are just a straight 15-minute round, right, for lower belts, and then like a straight like 30-minute round for upper belts or something.
Like Helio would have wanted.
Yeah, and the idea is, who the fuck wants to fight for 30 minutes or grapple for 30 minutes straight, right? Like, that's incentive for you to try to finish the fight earlier. But I think what is the law of unintended consequences dictates that a lot of times people just end up stalling, right, for that length of time, because who the hell also wants to go balls out for 5 minutes, try to finish it, and then burn themselves out and end up losing, right? So it's the game of like cat and mouse, of just the it's sort of like tit for tat,
But if they stall, they're probably going to lose. Like if you're on bottom, you need to like get out. You're not going to be saved by the clock. So I see two things. I see it forces the guy on bottom. If he gets taken down or she gets taken down, you need to get up because the clock ain't going to save you. But on the flip side, it could lead to a lot of long, drawn out. People are just laying on top of a guy because the guy on bottom can't get out or is biding, his or her time and energy to then make that explosion.
For the
It's
last
just,
5 minutes of the 20-minute round.
yeah, it's like, well, why? But the thing is like, well, if you've been under a person for like 15 out of the 20 minutes because you're waiting for the last like 2 minutes to explode because you can't
Yeah.
you can't afford to get taken down again. So I don't know. I think they want rule sets that are going to make for exciting fights, but I don't know if making a 5-minute round is that going to lend itself to more exciting fights. Shit, I mean, I know people have talked about, well, what about not having a cage and having some sort of
Like a giant basketball.
the
court.
giant basketball court, or having the slightly raised edges, so it's like it's like you're in a bowl basically.
They did that.
That's
though.
flat.
I mean, like they did that with when MMA.
Some weird
was-
karate shit. There's like a weird karate thing that I don't know if
that
they're still in
was- I mean,
business.
first off, Bloodsport, the last round of the Kumite, right?
Oh yeah, well, of course.
But there was, God, it was Bob Merowitz, one of the original founders of the UFC. When after they got bought out by the Fertitta brothers, he tried to make his own another promotion called, I think it was Yama Pit Fighting or Bama or something like that. And,
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
and that was a bowl. And I think like Bam Bam Bigelow was in. I don't know. It was really strange. But yeah, that was a bowl too. But perhaps it just wasn't big enough. I just don't see the advantage of like. So what? Why do we watch MMA? Right, because it's the purest form of competition. Right. I mean, mano y mano. You're it's truly man versus man, in a true test of wit and skill and strength and endurance and all that good stuff, right? Where life and death is literally on the line. Is fighting in a bowl any better a form of competition than fighting in a cage?
It should be like Gladiator, man. There should be like lions on chains
You know what I mean? Like
around the thing.
if you
So if
wanna
you get
say that
too far
one
out, you get eaten.
is one more quote realistic than the other just because it doesn't have walls where you can do clinch work? I mean, like what is the advantage of not having walls? I guess.
It helps wrestlers. If you don't have walls, it helps wrestlers.
How does it help a wrestler though?
No. I'm sorry. I say that again. I'm saying with the absence of walls helps wrestlers. The cage helps people defend against wrestling.
Oh, does it though? I mean, because wrestlers tend to
I
do
think so.
pretty well. I mean, I think it's a matter of the fighters because
Well, okay, let's put it this way. If you're a great wrestler and you get thrown into the cage and you don't practice cage work, then yes, you're severely hampered because you just can't keep driving. And I've heard this firsthand from Paul, where Paul's gone against incredible wrestlers, and he's like, in an open mat, they'll take me down time and time again. They get me up against the wall, they're not taking me down. Now, that's an example of someone with who's a good wrestler with lots of experience with wall work going against a let's say world-class wrestler. You know what I mean?
Correct.
It's not like newbie. It's, the skill disparity is not too much, but on an open mat, just wrestling, Paul fully admits
he's
that
like, I'm getting taken down.
he'll get taken down.
Okay.
He's like, I might be able to stop the first shot or the second, but these guys just will be able. They just can chain too much, and they'll just take me down. Like I'll be done after a few, counters to counters sort of thing. On a wall, I'll slow him down, and I'll stuff that shot. So that's what I'm operating up of. Not firsthand knowledge, just what a guy like Paul said. So, and I've heard other people say that you have that, but the cage is the cage. You know, you're gonna have to have wherever they fight. There's gonna be some criteria, or you have to put limits somehow.
Yeah, yeah. I
You
mean,
have to
like,
limit the
unless
space.
barring
Like
you fighting
they're
on the
not gonna
treadmill,
operate.
right? Like,
Yeah, or you fight in the middle of a football field.
yeah, or yeah, like it can't be. Or what is that? The Jamiroquai video where the walls essentially just move to constantly keep you centered. Like it's not possible, right? So they're barring fighting in space with just a floor somehow. That it's just you have to have something, whether it's
Dude, it should be like an old school like bull rope wrestling match where they tie
words.
where you tie a rope around each person's neck or
That's
around their
are you
wrists.
talking about like the Michael Jackson video?
I'm talking like old school Dusty Rhodes here, man.
Brian Martin, I'll have to ask him about that because I'm a late '80s, early '90s wrestler kid, so that's lumberjack match was about as extreme as I got.
But you just have these two guys tied to each other. Of course, now you have a rope, so now you can use the rope as a weapon against your opponent, but it keeps them kind of tied together.
That's where, man, like, if you had a judo background,
Woo-wee.
oh, you were getting Seonagi'd all day, right? I mean, so it'd be like my right hand would be tied to your right hand.
Yeah, potentially. That'd be one option, yeah.
That'd be a weird Seonagi too, wouldn't it? Yeah, I don't know enough about judo to say, but yeah, you're getting dumped if the guy's good enough. So, but anyways, so what else is new, man?
Just getting back into the swing of things, taking a week off from training or a little more and not doing much and getting back on the mats is kind of it's a little frustrating because
It's
you lose some things. Well, it's refreshing, but it was just a rude, like you want to perform at the level you were performing prior, and I noticed.
Do we need to go back to Paul's podcast where he's like, if you come back after a week, you should feel better. That means you didn't have it.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. He's like, you can't lose strength. Well, I'll tell you something. My grip strength is not the same. My top end strength is probably I think my strength is kind of the same, but my grip strength is a little weaker, and my fucking cardio, man. It's just
didn't have cardio in the first place. No.
Yeah, it was all mental. I was just doing well because I was mental. Or I'm mentally weak right now. I don't know.
It's got you. God, how the hell am I going to feel when I get back?
No, I think the thing with jiu-jitsu, what I noticed is yeah, you feel fresh, but there's a certain I'm going to just use the word callousing that comes from grappling.
Oh, sure.
And yeah, you might feel fresh, but there's something beneficial, even if it's placebo, about feeling calloused. And what I mean by calloused is that it's like when you get on the mat, you're a little sore. You have to loosen up those areas that you have to loosen up. You feel a little beat up, just a little, but it's like you've already been roughed up, so the roughing up that happens with the grappling that you're about to do doesn't feel that bad because you're already used to it. You're calloused up to it.
Agree.
When you haven't grappled for 7 days or more, your body feels amazing, but at the same time, it's got soft. Just a hair soft.
Oh, yeah. Dude, okay, let's put it this way, right? It's been 4 solid weeks at this point since I've been on the mat. No, I can't remember the last time I've not had fingernails that didn't have valleys and peaks and stuff all in them. And my I don't know if you've had this problem. I don't know if other jiu-jitsu people have this problem, but I get ganglion cysts. Are you familiar with that? Or have we talked about it before?
I know what ganglion cysts are. Where are you getting yours?
I'm getting mine on the knuckle. So I'll tell you a story about this in a minute. On the knuckle that's just behind my fingernail bed.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Which finger?
it's usually, ironically, because this is how I teach people to grip doing the pistol grip, is my middle finger and ring fingers.
Okay.
So my ganglion cysts have gone away, incidentally.
Were they ganglion cysts or were they just kind of
Oh no,
calluses?
no, they were ganglion cysts.
Okay.
So
All
much
right. All
so
right.
that I went to a an urgent care, and I was like, man, I don't know what the fuck
Did they
these are.
smash them?
No, yeah. So they're also known as Bible cysts or mucus
Yeah.
cysts. So how do you know about them? How are you familiar with these things?
Because my dad would get them on the inside of his wrists. I think at least one wrist, and
What
he
is
would
he getting that
period.
from? I mean, like,
I think he's getting it because he was a musician,
oh, okay.
so he played the flute. Either that, and he was an artist. So I really don't know why he would get it on the inside of his wrist, but it's like I guess like a calcium deposit, some sort of deposit.
No, no,
He's
no. It's a leakage of synovial fluid, which is,
oh
yeah, in between your joints that leaks out.
oh okay,
Yeah.
I did not know
So
that. But my understanding is one way to treat it is you just bang it and it disperses.
it that's correct. That's why it's called a Bible cyst.
Yeah, so he would bang it on. He would either like have my mom like take the dictionary and smash
Yep.
it, or what he often would do is go to like just up to the wall, or not the wall, but like where the door frame is, and literally just kind of like palm strike, but instead of palm strike, wrist strike
Yeah. That's
the
sick.
thing, and it was weird. He'd bang it, and then he'd hold it, and it would kind of go away.
Yeah, it's gross. So I started developing them when I trained jiu-jitsu more intensely and more frequently. And I went to the doctor, or actually like a little urgent care near me, and I was like, dude, what the fuck? Like I thought I had like cancer on my fingers or something, you know? I had Googled it and whatnot and found, whoa, my actual Google.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Sorry. My my home.
Always listening.
Oh, dude, always listening and always bored apparently because there's not much I talk about. But I took it to that, and the guy was like, "So it's this," and I was like, "Yeah, I figured that from WebMD." He's like, "It's not dangerous. It's not going to kill you to have it." And you know, I can aspirate. Is that the term? Is to
That
drain.
might be. I thought aspirate is drain, so I
Yeah,
don't know
he's like,
about hitting it. I don't know if hitting it would be considered
no,
draining.
no. He's like, I can aspirate it here, and it'll cost you $50 or whatever the hell your copay is, right? Um, but all I'm going to literally do is just take some alcohol, put it on a needle, and you know, take some alcohol, pump
Wink,
it up.
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Exactly. He's like, but I mean, you might be able to just do that at home. So I was like, that's all you got to do, man. He's like, yeah, and that's what I would do here to it, and it's like it's going to come back probably. So you just got to keep doing it, basically. Otherwise, you can end up spending $50 every time I were to do that for you. So for like a good 4-year period, I was just I would just take a razor blade and rub some alcohol on it, and rub some alcohol on that. And
Oh,
yeah, and I was draining my fingers myself, man.
oh,
But yeah,
dude, that's gross.
and it's definitely a disgusting ooze that comes out.
I was
It's
gonna say, what's the color of that stuff?
it's it's like gelatinous. It's definitely some sort of like colloidal like suspension. um,
Ew.
there's no blood unless I squeezed too hard as I was after I've already cut it. You just sort of like massage it around and ooze it's like a yellowish kind of gel that comes out. It looks like Neosporin almost. So I had that on like 3 different fingers. My middle finger on my left hand, my ring finger on my left hand, which is why I actually had to get a larger wedding ring. and my ring finger on my right hand. So 3 fingers. I would have to do that too, once every 2 months or so. I'm surprised this isn't talked about more, or maybe my gripping is so unique that I'm the only person in our gym that suffers from ganglion cysts on my fingers.
Well, my understanding is the people that have jujitsu fingers, that's from spraining your knuckles
It's
and
like an arthritic thing, right? Like an
yeah, it's like
orthopedic thing.
repeated. It's like so when you look at, it's a great example. That guy, who's the guy who's he looks like a Neanderthal, and he does the Kurt Osiander.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Oh yeah. He definitely looks like a Neanderthal.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I say that with all respect. Like, you know what I mean? Like he looks
He
I
looks
mean,
like the Geico caveman.
but I mean, he's got his hands. You know, it's all like triple wrapped everything,
Yeah.
and my understanding is that's just like sprain, sprain, heal, sprain, heal, and it just like you start to calcify your joints, and it's just like your joints are like trying to protect themselves, so it's just like they become. I mean, dude, I'm telling you, man, this is one reason why I like no gi. It's easier on your fingers.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, I think was it Keenan who said if he could go back, he would do less gi and more no gi.
He might have said that. I haven't heard, but
Yeah,
I
I'd have
wouldn't.
to
I
look
wouldn't put
back,
it.
but I want to say Keenan said that because he's the king of just lapel shit, right? He's
Well, he said that lapel guard has saved his fingers. It was like Spider was killing him, but lapel is like nobody can break the grip, and it's not the same. You're not like obviously if you've got a cuff grip or even a cross collar because a lot of it comes from the type of grip and the fact that when people break grips, it's such a violent thing
yeah,
because you're probably not going to relinquish the grip. You're going to say, fuck you, man, I'm holding this grip. And then they break it off. So they violently removed your fingers from the grip. Whereas if you hold a lapel, it's like no one's breaking that grip. And you've basically wrapped your hand around something. It's not a cuff type grip. It's
that's
just
true.
like you're grabbing,
You're
you know,
like the tail of it, and plus, like you also
exactly.
have the leverage of like there's no easy way to break that grip, right? Like
No,
yeah,
I mean that you've got it, So like the thing with lapel is it's one of those guards that it's strong, but it takes time and effort to get into it. So if you manage to get into the guard, you're golden. It's just not something that you can immediately enter. Whereas like De La Hiva, you can get into that quickly, but it's not as stable. For example,
yeah.
I mean obviously
Spider
it's
guard, you
stable
can
if
get
you're
into
good
that
at it. But
very easily. And,
exactly.
yeah. The
So it's yeah, man. Finger health.
it's a yeah. I mean that's I it's funny though. I from a like arthritic standpoint, my fingers aren't that bad. Aside from the ganglion cyst, like I don't have like well, I take that back. I do have that one crooked finger.
So shout out to Michelle Jimenez. She was at promotions. We have
Oh,
not seen her for a
where the
while, but
hell is
she
she?
showed up to
How
promotions.
about
She got a stripe. So congratulations to Michelle.
well, she and
Uh,
Danny, I think, have been training on their own, right? Like,
They have.
yeah,
So they have
or-
mats in their garage, and they've been training a lot. And she was showing off, much to her chagrin, and I guess a little. I would say she probably was a little embarrassed, or I wouldn't say she was annoyed, but very unladylike. Pinky finger, because she jammed her pinky finger rolling with Danny during this quarantine, and it basically dislocated
oh,
at the principal knuckle, the main one. So the first, so if you were to look at your finger, we're gonna say that you have three knuckles, right? You have your actual knuckle, then you have the knuckle joint that if you bend is like the principal bend of your finger, and then you have the knuckle nearest your fingernail, which
where I get
depending on
ganglion
how your
cysts.
finger is, yeah, where you get ganglion. Well, the middle one is the one that got dislocated,
Oh,
and she was able to kind of straighten it out herself, but it it can't straighten anymore. So it's
Oh
it's
no.
at a bend. So it's not bent off to the side. It's just bent. So she
Right.
can't straighten that finger. And
So
she
that could be
only just recently
fixed.
got the ability to close her fist. So now
Really?
she can close it, but it won't be open. And what she told us was from the doctor. They said the tendons healed in a way that's preventing you from straightening your finger, and it's probably not going to get
That's actually
any better.
what's happened to my middle finger, the knuckle where it's closest to the nail. I I actually got I got a staph infection in it. Um, that's another story altogether. But when the infection actually ate away.
Oh, it ate away the skin.
No, the tendon, the top
Oh,
tendon that where I can
gross.
extend my hand, and as it,
Did this happen in jiu-jitsu or in taekwondo?
this is a jiu-jitsu injury.
Jeez.
Oh yeah, it was bad.
What gym did this occur in, man?
Not ours.
There we go. Thank
No,
you.
no, it might have happened at one of my friends' gyms.
Okay.
But yeah, I was
Shout out to the hygiene at our gym.
exactly.
ATT Orlando, good
So,
hygiene.
dude, it was crazy. Like I, yeah. Either way, it ate away the tendon, the top part of my hand, right? The one that would be responsible for extending your fingers,
Mm-hmm.
and then the bottom tendon would be the one responsible for flexion. So when all was said and done, and I went to a hand surgeon and whatnot to get it looked at, I was like, man, like I can't fucking straighten that knuckle anymore. And he's like, well, this is what happened. And he explained it to me. He's like, I can make it so that you can straighten your finger. He's like, does it hurt? I was like, no. I mean, it's done. It's healed. Um, he's like, does it affect your ability to do anything functioning wise? I was like, not really. He's like, it's
What the would you say the strength of that finger is the same?
yeah, because I actually, I mean, it doesn't feel any less. I mean, I don't think like it doesn't prohibit me from gripping anything with my left hand. It's just unsightly.
Okay. Unsightly.
It's just
Okay.
unsightly. Like literally, it's just unsightly. He's like, I can fix it. I would just have to essentially snip the tendon that's underneath your finger to, allow for your finger to straighten out. Because right now it's operating as a pulley, like yanking that knuckle down so that that
Mm-hmm.
first knuckle is at like a constant half flexion. So I was like, eh. He's like, you're gonna. He's like, I don't like the idea of cutting any tendons that where you don't need to. So if you can deal with it, then I would recommend dealing with it. So yeah, that's if you ever look at my left middle finger, that's why it's constantly bent. So,
Okay, so you're gonna have to take a picture, and we'll put that on the
so
Instagram so
don't.
everyone can see
Um,
what your nasty, unsightly finger
it's
looks like.
definitely it looks like a hammer toe, but it's like a hammer finger, I suppose. I'll do that for tomorrow.
Okay.
So yeah, guys, if you ever actually get a ganglion cyst that bursts while training, make sure to clean it up immediately.
Oh, because that contains staph.
No, because you can get staph into an open wound, Noah.
Oh. Okay. So when you say clean it, I'm sorry. When you say clean, you mean clean yours.
Yeah,
I understood
make
clean
sure
the
to clean
mat.
your own.
Oh, well, that's anything. Anytime I become religious about, I bought these like a huge pack, like 100 pack of
Defense wipes or
these.
something.
No, these really good bandages that stick to you, and they cover small cuts. So anybody, if they got long nails, and like I'll get like a cut on the top of my hand or around my feet or something. No, there's like no question. Wash thoroughly, scrub thoroughly, drop a Neosporin, cover it up. It sounds like overkill, but you just have to you don't fuck around with that kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
don't.
Any entry into your system, into your body, any break of the skin, it's better safe than sorry. Cover that shit up
Oh yeah,
and you'll be
like
happy.
don't tough it out, man. Like it's not worth it. So, Definitely, I'm especially nowadays, right? I mean, like any entry points, you don't want that to be an issue. But so yeah, man, ganglion cysts and bent fingers for you. Didn't think it was gonna go there today, did you?
Oh man, and I gotta eat dinner still, so I don't know how this helped my appetite. Jeez. But listen, Chris, we've gone an hour and a half
Yeah, man.
ish. It's probably past your bedtime.
It is
We
actually
won't say what
right
time
around
it
my
is.
bedtime. So
It's right around your bedtime. So instead of getting drunk, I could tell you were fading, but this was just from a long day of
yeah, so
doing a bunch of
I didn't
stuff
get much sleep either, and plus, like, I mowed the yard. So for those of you guys who don't
and
know,
and you have like a manual mower. Like you don't actually have a normal
I
mower.
have
You're like
like Leave It to Beaver, like
yeah, this is like if you watch a Tom and Jerry cartoon
yeah,
and one of the owners is mowing the lawn, it's this thing.
it's like a cylinder that's turned horizontally.
Do you have to ever sharpen the blades?
No, um, because Fiskars actually makes this. It's there's so traditional one is not gear driven for one. It's just literally the the force of you turning the cylinder.
Pushing it.
You know, but
Yeah.
the new ones are gear driven, so you get additional drive, I guess, essentially, if you want to call it that. And traditional ones are blade on blade, where the rotating cylinders blades against a fixed blade. Um,
So let me ask you this: can you go over an area of grass once and it cuts it adequately, or do you have to go multiple
oh
times?
no, I'm good. Like it's one time.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
so
and I've had this thing as long as I've been in my house. I mean, granted, I went like a year or two paying somebody else to cut my yard until my machismo kicked in. I'm like, fuck this. I'm a dad now. Um, and I started doing it myself again.
so how old does Connor have to be before he starts doing lawn work?
So incidentally, it's funny that you mentioned that because when I quit my job a couple years ago and all that stuff, and I was trying to make a living, like teaching jujitsu and trying to do personal training, all that stuff. One of my neighbors, his son was, I want to say, maybe like 10 or 11. And like Jason was like, hey, Cooper would like to, like mow your yard. I want to teach him about responsibility and like, like earning his own keep and that sort of thing. So it was like, if I kick you like $10 a week or something, or like, or I forgot what the deal was. He's like, I'll give you $10 to give to my son or something. And you can just ask him to like mow your front yard. Right. And mind you, so these types of mowers are not meant for St. Augustine grass, which is a very hardy, coarse grass. They're meant for finer, like ryegrasses and Bermudas and stuff, and
Mhm.
zoysias. Like the fact that I can push it, it's because I'm a 180, 75, 180 pound male who works out on the regular that I can even do this, right? Because even I just hired a guy to come and spray bugs and do my fertilization and stuff because I don't need to get that shit on me when I'm like shirtless after mowing the yard. Um, he saw my garage and he was like, "Oh man, like you have a real mower?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You're not supposed to use that shit on like St. Augustine grass." I'm like, "Well, I do." And my yard looks okay. He's like, "Man, it must be fucking hard as hell for you to do." He's like, "Oh, it's not easy. I mean, it's basically like pushing a car, right?" Um, so either way, Cooper.
It's like pushing a car.
It's. I mean,
Mowing in 2020. It's like pushing a car, ladies and gentlemen.
it's not easy, Noah. I mean, it's like literally like pushing the sled. I mean, not. I can.
Dude, you need to level up your manhood, your man card, American card, and get yourself a rider mower
No, man, I won't.
with like
I
with a place for your beer.
no,
That's what you need.
not negative. But either way,
So you
Cooper
can start
decided-
you can start another mower. You can start another engine. Anytime you can add an engine to something, you're leveling up.
That was my thing though. I made it a commitment to myself that I wouldn't be just. I'm already destroying the environment by having a lawn in the first place, right? Like, think of the resources that you dump onto your yard for the sake of aesthetics, like you're putting additional nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, all this bullshit into your yard, pesticides, herbicides, just all of this nonsense you're sticking into the environment unnecessarily.
True. I mean, I think again, to what lengths and to what degree you're maintaining the yard, obviously, is going to affect to what
I have
degree
an
you're
HOA.
negatively impacted. No, I understand. But so what happened with Cooper?
So Cooper, he's like an 11-year-old kid, and
you should have like taken the $10 and been like, Cooper, I'll pay you $5, and then you just pocket the other.
no, because that'd be stealing from his dad.
No, that would be that would be a transaction fee or a maintenance fee or something, man. Come on.
I guess so. So Cooper, actually, if you're listening to this, which I doubt you are, yeah, that was a deal that your dad and I worked out to try to teach you how to earn your own keep.
I didn't really want to hire you.
I actually didn't want. I wanted to do my yard myself. So he tried.
Shout out to Cooper.
Yeah, he's in. Actually, he does jiu-jitsu now.
Oh, good for him. Well, there you go.
Awesome. But he tried, man, and this poor kid. Like, I was like, dude, it was not easy. It must have taken him. You know, I could have done my entire yard edged, mowed, blowed, and everything in the amount of time it took him to do just my one portion of my front yard. So he tried. He gutted through it, man. He got it done. He earned every bit of that $10. So yeah. So anyways, that was my workout for the day at like 4:00 in the afternoon.
And you said you do it shirtless?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, so how come you don't tan more? I feel like that would be like you would be bronzed.
I'm like so Filipino looking right now. Are you kidding me?
Oh, really?
Oh.
Well, I haven't seen you, I guess. Maybe I haven't seen you. That's
true.
The thing.
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm evolved to be in the tropics, right? Like, I have to be out in the sun without sunblock for, dude, 4 or 5 hours before I burn.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay, so wait a minute. So how old does Connor have to be before you start giving him responsibilities, character development responsibilities, like mowing the lawn?
Like mowing the lawn, or like just cleaning up after himself? I mean, like, I think it's important for children to learn that things just don't get done. So we won't.
Well, yeah, but let's jump to the yard work. When can he start doing yard work? 5?
I mean,
8?
First off, you got to have some weight to be able to push the damn thing around.
All right, so you got to take him to McDonald's a couple days a week, or Five Guys, plump him up.
Oh, fucking Five Guys, so overrated. Oh, that's it.
Take him to one of your all-you-can-eat buffets. Take him to Texas Day Brazil all the time.
I don't think that shit's gonna exist in his lifetime, man.
Oh, what? No more all-you-can-eat buffets in COVID
stuff anymore. That stuff's gone. I miss Chinese buffets so much. Are you kidding me? Oh my god.
Well, you were gonna take me to the one that does sushi and.
Oh my god.
Which one was it? Was it the Latino? Which one was it? The Latino.
Yeah, I'm gonna take it.
Asian fusion or the
to El Palacio or Mikado, which is like the higher end one. We should go to Mikado.
I think Mikado. Yeah, Mikado.
Mikado for sure. That one's really good. Yeah, we'll have to go there.
All right, so we'll wear hazmat suits and wear bubbles and roll in there somehow.
Yeah, or they can just. Like, I can use chopsticks. I can probably use a good solid foot-long chopstick to socially distance myself from the buffet, right?
Oh my goodness. Well, listen, Chris, on that note, with that visual, maybe that will be in your head when you go to sleep and you'll have weird dreams about foot-long or 3-foot-long chopsticks
or something. Is that the title of this?
3-foot-long chopsticks. I like that. Yeah, that's going to be the title. It had nothing to do with the entire thing, but the last thing that we talked about will be the title, because 3-foot-long chopsticks just is too good of a title not to use.
Yeah, man.
Well, listen, Chris. Thanks for. I know You've been super busy lately, and so I appreciate you making the time
Yeah,
to
man.
hop on this.
I'm glad we were able to catch up too. So
Yeah, for sure. We'll do it again. And for those of you listening, thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, share, leave a review, leave a comment. We're BJJ and Brews. We're on all your favorite platforms. We're on YouTube. And you can reach us by email, bjjandbrews@gmail.com. You all have a great one, and we will catch you down the road.
see ya.